Ladies and gentlemen, we will get started today, and we just want to thank you for making the first Tim Talk a great success. Those of you that have reached out personally via text and email, those have been forwarded on, obviously for the people that log in and register, but for the multiple shares when they go out to Facebook and Instagram and others, we're grateful. We are so happy today to talk to, as we always say, no one's smarter than everyone. And that is absolutely true in my case. And I'm so happy today to bring my friend. We've been talking almost daily because Frank Lopes is in my mind, in many minds, one of the brightest minds, let me say mine 3 times, in the space. He's got many dealerships that he does digital marketing and planning and everything in between for those dealerships. Very well respected, MCs multiple different automotive conferences, and just actually just finished a book, I hear. So Frank, welcome. Thank you for the opportunity to share with our brothers and sisters in the automotive space. And just thank you so much for joining us, Frank.
Tim, it's my pleasure to be here. I see so many fantastic auto pros in the list of participants on today's program. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for investing your time out of your day. Whether your dealership is open or not, it doesn't matter. Your time is extremely valuable. So we thank you all very, very much for that. And, honestly, Tim, I can't wait to get started. This is a fantastic opportunity to be able to share some insights, some information, and, and really to help lead and guide retailers right now, because there's a lot of questions out there. There's a lot of questions. And to be honest, there's a lot of, there's some good information and there's a lot of misinformation as well. So I'd love to be able to set the record straight for so many dealers and try to get them on the right path, not with theories or with couldas or shouldas or maybes or anything like that, but with actual facts of things that are working, executions that are working, plans that are working, and what some of the most successful dealerships in our great country are doing right now and what they're planning to do in the future.
Yes, and that's so true. As we said before, we set the tone last week. We do at Carnell, myself, no matter what tool you're using, if we have the privilege of partnering with you, we are not the quote COVID-19 gurus. But what we are doing right now, because the car business has been so good to all of us, is we're gathering around and bringing some of the brightest minds together to figure this thing out. And what Frank just said is that we have stuff that's actually working. Frank, before we dive into this, I just saw on Facebook last night a couple times, you just finished your book. Will you just give me a Reader's Digest version of what the title of that book? I know the number is 7 in there, which happens to be my favorite number, but would you just give me the title of that book and give us just a little commercial on what you've just finished writing?
Absolutely. The book is titled The 7-Minute Setup, and what the book contains is my actual formula and my actual execution that I used to bring myself back from bankruptcy and to bring myself back from having absolutely nothing besides basically the clothes on my back and a few possessions to where I am right now. And I'm still using the exact same method and execution to continue to grow. It comprises of 7 steps that that an individual needs to go through to be able to define their vision on what it is that they actually want to accomplish and what they want their life to be, whether it be personal or business. It works on both aspects. To have their vision on what it is that they want their life to be, and then the steps to go through, proper planning and proper execution. It's a full process, Tim. It's a full process for someone to use no matter what the goal is. Like I said, whether it's personal or business, it's the full proven process that works. And not only has it worked on me, but I have already coached hundreds of people personally on using the 7-minute setup. And each and every one of them have found success, from one person being a fitness model to other person starting a coaching business for e-gamers. You have no idea, Tim, how much money these people make playing Call of Duty and Halo and stuff, And so, a complete process.
A good idea. That's great.
I mean, some of these top players, Tim, they make millions a year, tens of millions a year, just in competition, just in competition winnings. But that's neither here nor there, and has nothing to do with what we're going to talk about today. But the book will be out. We're shooting for somewhere around the 20th of April, as long as everything falls in place. And I encourage every to go out and get it, because it can definitely change your life. And that's not a sales pitch. That's an absolute true statement.
Well, look, it all starts with us, right? Everything we're getting ready to talk about starts with us. So what I want to do really quick is I want to review what we talked about, because, the title of today's talk is what your dealership's going to look like post-COVID. And we know now, and we've had multiple dealerships, we're blessed with over 4,000 stores, and stories are coming in all over the country from success stories, and even stories that aren't working, which helps us figure out what is working, but success stories. And multiple dealers are saying, even when we get through this COVID deal, that we are going to literally change the way we do business. Meaning, this is the way I was taught back in 1989, and many of you on this call. Derek Massey, brother, I see you on the line. Hello, and I started my car career about 3 dealerships down from Derek in Florence, Kentucky, on Highway 18 at Jake Sweeney Hyundai. And my manager used to say, "Just get them in," right? I think especially now, since COVID has hit, we can't just get them in, right? We cannot take that mentality anymore, and we have to continue to do whatever we can to differentiate ourselves digitally, to quote unquote get them not even to come into our dealership, but to be able to purchase and service an automobile. So just very quickly, and I'll open this up to Frank as well. You need, again, review from last week. You need to make sure that you are set up to do remote pickup and delivery. Some of you guys are allowed to have salespeople. Some of you are not. Most all of you are allowed to continue to service automobiles. So you need to take a look at that. Remote test drives, remote desking, remote trade appraisals. This is something that you need to watch very closely. Unpack, all you desk managers, GMs, all you guys on the phone right now, and all the people that are going to be listening via social media later, look at your trade tools. I think the trade-ins, the prices of these cars are fluctuating. Run a few tests on your trade tool, whether that's Kelley Blue Book, whether that's Trade Pending, whether that's Trade in Valet, or whoever you're using. Remote F&I, we talked about being able to be virtual. Before I move on, anything you'd like to add here, Frank? Anything on this page here that steps out at you?
Tim, I don't really have anything to add, but what I do have and what I want to do is absolutely emphasize, because right in your first block, pickup and delivery for service. I mean, customer right now, they are afraid to leave the house. Okay. So it is obvious that if there's something wrong with their vehicle, if they walk out through their garage and they notice that their vehicle has a flat tire, if they notice that they go to try to start it up and it doesn't start, whatever it is, if we can send a technician to the house to do some remote, diagnostics and to figure out what huge and absolutely a huge benefit to customers, and customers are going to remember that. They are always going to remember the knight in shining armor that came to help at their time of need. But a part of that is also just being convenient. How many times in the past, retailers, how many times have we heard customers say that coming to the dealership for service right? And before March 15th, we all said, oh, that's too bad. That's too bad that it's an inconvenience. Oh, okay. Because most of the time, our service departments were running at somewhere between 120% of capacity. Now, amazing that at now, as soon as the bottom falls out for all of us, what winds up happening is we wind up having won't come in, so we start doing everything in the world to make them come in. Friends, keeping these things going forward is going to be very, very important. I'm sorry, I said that the wrong way. It's going to be absolutely 100% crucial, because the last thing you want is to have someone pull out to you, oh, well, during coronavirus, you had no problem coming to pick up my car, but now you won't. And somebody's going to have to answer that. So pickup and delivery, 1,000% is a must, and I hope you're used to it, because you're going to have it for a long time. This does not mean that you have to pick up each and every single vehicle that's going to come through your service department. You can always handle this with a process that's similar to your loaner cars, to where you only pick up, say, for example, 5 or 8 or 10 vehicles per day, whatever it is, the same way how you only have 5 or 8 or 10 loaner cars available per day, and the customer has to make a reservation to be able to do so. That's totally fine, and that's going to be fine going in the future, but just not doing it at all is going to hurt you a lot more than it's going to help you. The second thing on there that needs the absolute most amount of emphasis is that next block to the right that says remote test drives and deliveries. This is also one of these things that retailers used to say was a huge pain in the butt. I don't know how we're going to make this work. Oh, go out there. I don't want to do it. Who's going to do it? Nobody wants to do it. March 15th comes and everybody's going to do it. And it's amazing, because at our company, at FB Digital, we had 5 individual dealerships that had pickup and delivery, or as we call it, at home processes and services that were in beta at that time, that we were working out the kinks and getting them all ready. On March 11th, we launched all 5 of those plus another 30 of them, all in one day, because if the 5 that didn't have it figured out, they figured it out really quick.
Yeah.
And the rest of them joined suit. So without a doubt, remote test drives and deliveries, friends, another thing, it does not mean that whatever the volume of vehicles you sold prior, it does not mean that every one of them is going to be a pickup and delivery. Right now it is, but in the future, more than likely will not be all of them, but you still need to have the capability to do it. And out of those dealers that I mentioned before, out of the retailers that had beta tests going on, it was used more as a tool than it was as an actual end, as a means to an end to actually sell a vehicle. So when you can use it as a tool to be able to facilitate some part of another tool in your toolbox that you can grab to. And let me add one more thing before we jump to the next part. Trade appraisals on your website. Retailers, if you have a good, there's a night and day difference between a good and strong trade tool on your website that gives the customer the information that they need and the information that you need them to have, as well as generate an opportunity for the dealership. It could count up to as I've seen in some dealers where it would count somewhere close to a little over half of all of the opportunities that come into the dealership through the dealership's website. Almost half. So if you're looking at your stats right now, and if your trade tool is not generating somewhere at a minimum of 20% of the trades that you're using, then you're using the wrong tool. And if you want to know the right tool to use, you can message me after this. You can message me on Facebook, and I'll hook you up with the one that is the best and that will generate somewhere around 50% of the leads.
Awesome. Thank you for that, Frank. And again, just so much here as we move on. And the most important thing is that what we've been preaching for almost 4 years now. You got to create a digital champion. You've got to create somebody in your store that's taking these leads that know. I mean, it's a different world now. There is, and if some of you have my information, it's tim@carnow.com. I will tell you, I don't want to say it online. But there's a store after Tim Talk on Tuesday. There was a store on Thursday, and it sounds made up because on Thursday they sold 25 cars. Now this is a group now, a very large group in Kentucky. They sold 25 cars. On Friday, they sold 50 cars, and there was no salespeople in the dealership. Let me say that again. By doing these by pickup and delivery service, by remote test drives, by chatting back and forth, having conversations, they sold 50 cars on Friday. It is a fact. It's not just made up to make us sound pretty. It is absolutely working, guys, and it can get us through this, and it's going to change from moving forward. So just so you know, we're going to show this to you once again.
Tim, let me add.
Yes.
Tim, let me add something. What you know, friends, listen closely to this. This is happening. Tim just gave you an example of a dealer group selling 50. I can give you two right now. I can give you a single point dealer in New Jersey that sold 12 cars within 2 days of executing on this. And I can give you a single point dealer in Florida who sold 27 vehicles in 1 day. This is not a weird type of thing. This is not a you do it and it's a onesie and twosie. This is something that absolutely can and will carry you through.
Absolutely. We want to touch, again, just want to recap on everything. Next week, by the way, we're going to be talking to Jared Kilway from Germain on Facebook and social media and how important that is, especially now. You guys are talking about, suppressing, you're not spending, $100,000 or $50,000 or $20,000 a month on your marketing budget like you used to because of what's going on, with Facebook and social media. It's an extreme, and we're going to unpack that. I know Jared's on today, but we're really going to unpack that next week. But that's something that if you are familiar with, that pennies on the dollar. You can get in front of your place ads, dynamic ads, several in front of your customers to where they can engage. Obviously, this is our schedule now for Facebook to where you can, using AI, communicate with your customers, schedule service online. And again, just great part there. Before we kind of let Frank take over, this is key. Guys, managers, if somebody calls you boss, you've got to be bought in. This cannot be, I'll try it because nobody's working. This has to be bought in, top down. You have to take the what I love to call the George Patton mentality. The lead, follow, or get out of my way. Let me tell you something. It's not lead, follow, or get out of my way now. It's lead, follow, or find something else to do. We're either leading by being a leader in your PMA, stepping out, letting your people know that this is exactly what we're getting ready to do. Follow, what I mean by follow, maybe that's not a great word that you think, but follow a dealership group that might not be in your PMA, that you don't compete with, that's doing it the right way. Reach out to us. I can share those names with you. Call them directly. I don't even need to be a part. I think it's very important for us to connect as brothers and sisters in the automotive space as we get better together. So this is all big, big stuff. Any comments here, Frank?
Friends, we would think that this was a very, very obvious thing, what you have on the screen right now, Tim, about how management needs to be bought in. Because look, we've all heard every one of the analogies. We've heard the whole thing of the fish stinks from the head down, right? We've heard the whole thing of, the man who celebrates Hanukkah is not going to be the one to light the candles at midnight mass on Christmas Eve. Okay, so if you are not bought in, if dealers not brought in, if the managers are not bought in, there is no way to convince everyone else to suddenly get bought in. It is absolutely 100% not going to work. And managers that are on the call right now, how many times have you had or you've seen one of your other managers having a kind of like an off day, if they have like something that's wrong at home, if they have a health issue, if they're battling a cold, if there's something like that that's going on? How many times have you seen their attitude get transferred over to the whole rest of the sales floor, to the entire sales floor? It has happened time and time again. At the same time, how many times have you had a good manager who's been pumped up and has been all about something and has started off thinking this is going to be a great day, we're all going to have a great day, there may be a foot of snow on the ground outside, it doesn't matter, we're going to clean it up and and we're going to sell 4 cars today. And at the end of the day, you sell 8. It all comes from the top. Everything comes from the top down in all of our stores. And that's not just an automotive thing. You can go into any other business, and that's exactly the way it is. The management team needs to be bought in on all of these premises. If not, don't do them.
Yeah.
Like, seriously, don't do them. Just, like even right now, if you don't believe in anything that's going on, just exit the call. Seriously, because all you're going to do is waste your time. The worst thing that you can do, and I hate to say it like this, but I can't think of another way. My jersey's going to come out here, right? But the only thing that you're going to do is half-ass an execution on one of these points. Because of the fact that you half-assed it, you're going to wind up aggravating a customer because you don't have all your stuff together. The people aren't behind it. You dropped the ball on this. You came to do on-site delivery. You forgot 5 pieces of paperwork, have to go back, can't the car there because of legalities and insurance, blah, 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 and you just make a complete mess out of this. So if you're not going to be totally bought in, then flat out don't do it. You may be wrong for not doing it.
Yeah. My favorite.
I hate to say it like this, but it's less wrong.
Yeah, 1,000%. My favorite saying, especially during all this, it's so true. And I wish I knew who said it. I wish I could take claim for it. But we need leaders right now. We need men and women to step up and to lead. A leader is not measured. The saying is, the quote is, a leader is not measured on what they do, but what people do because of them. So what are your people doing because of you? What kind of leadership are you having with your people? Let's look at the OEMs. I wanted to bring in some new commercials. Some of you have seen this. In our opinion, I think Lincoln has done a fabulous job as an OEM with setting this tone. Last week, as you guys see, it's now growing. I don't believe this commercial was even out last Tuesday, but let's watch a couple commercials. It's funny how maybe old Tim was right last week, how we said, hey, customers want to know, are you open, and are you, can I buy a car, and how are you going to take care of me while I service my car? And now here comes Lincoln with this beautiful commercial, but now the OEMs obviously, for the past couple weeks are getting involved. So let's just watch this and use this as a template as what your dealership should be communicating with your PMA. Oops, let me go back. Sorry.
This is what servicing your vehicle looks like with Lincoln. Pick up your vehicle, leave you a Lincoln loaner, and return yours, washed and serviced. Nice. That's Lincoln pickup and delivery.
Let me go back.
More than ever, your home is your sanctuary. That's why Lincoln offers you the ability to purchase a new vehicle remotely with participating dealers. An effortless transaction, all without leaving the comfort and safety of your home. That's the power of sanctuary.
And for a little extra help, receive 0% APR financing and defer your first payment up to 120 days on the purchase of a new Lincoln.
Awesome. So again, what we're talking about is this type of badging, putting these things over your website, allowing your customers to know that, hey, we do offer this and you are going to be safe. As we transition from now, it seems like a lot of the things that we talked about last week, guys, is obviously the things that are going to be flowing in to now and post-COVID. As we watch the news every day, we're hopefully seeing a light at the end of the tunnel, as some are saying, and we're learning that this is the way consumers want to react and want to purchase and want to service their vehicles. So just look at these types of things, and obviously offline, please reach out to us at Car Now. We'll be able to help you with this. So Frank, this actually is one of your dealerships, so I'll let you talk on this over here. This is the mobile piece on one of your dealers that I believe you were talking that had so much success. Tell us why this is successful at World Subaru.
Yeah, so it's great coincidence that you had this up because of the two dealers that I mentioned earlier who were having success with remote sales and the numbers I gave out. This just happens to be one of them. Before I get into this, let me add something because those two Lincoln commercials were absolutely quarters of the participants, the people that are watching on the call right now, were like, yeah, that's an absolutely beautiful commercial, but where do I get a house like that? And where do I get that place, that type of a setting to shoot in? And where do I get that done? And how much did that cost and everything? Friends, you don't need all of the fancy stuff to make commercials like that right now. Okay. The more real and the more raw your commercials and your videos look, the better it actually is right now. We don't, unfortunately, excuse me. Unfortunately, we don't have samples in the presentation today, but if anyone on the call wants to see samples of what the stuff can look like for your dealership, easy, fast, quick, raw, reach out to me afterwards. I can, and I'll. This one for World Subaru, this is an execution that is currently going on. You could go on their website right now, worldsubaru.com. They're in New Jersey, and New Jersey is a state that has already gone through 2 different stay-at-home guideline acts from Governor Murphy. Governor Murphy doing a fantastic job regulating and doing everything he can, reacting to COVID here in New Jersey. As everyone knows, this is the state with the second highest amount of cases. But we started out with dealership sales departments being completely closed. And then with an extreme amount of lobbying and maybe even a little bit of begging, we were able to have New Jersey as one of the states that is open, but you cannot have customers physically in the showroom. So we had to change the presentation of all of the material to talk about that, but at the same time not have it deter. So number one, we started off with a strong statement of, yes, New Jersey, you can buy a new Subaru right now, because there was a lot of confusion over the dealership sales department being closed at first and then changed up to being open. First point, no hassle, no haggle, because the last thing that a customer needs is to feel that something that the dealership is going to do is going to be stressful or is going to take a long time. The image of automotive retailers is still exactly the same that it was pre-COVID, and it wasn't good back then. So one of the things we have to do immediately is to say that this is going to be easy, and then to describe at-home delivery, right? And after you say yes, we print all the paperwork and bring it to you, or you can have delivery curbside outside in our service department. And what this dealership actually outside, right outside the door, the car is parked right next to it. There's a tent. There's a table under the tent with a tablecloth. 6-foot distance is kept for social distancing. All the paperwork is prepared inside the dealership. They bring it out. Everybody's got gloves on, all that type of good stuff. Brand new pens for them to sign. The customer takes the pen out of the box themselves, picks their own pen, and then they can take the vehicle right there. And also, this dealership also has an extremely beneficial and strong added value message, which is their VIP, and we continue to say that you still get everything that's in the VIP program. So what you're saying here is you deliver curbside, you stay within the state's regulations, and you make it as easy as possible. In New York City, they're actually saying that we should take the vehicles to a mall or to a Target parking lot or something like that and meet the customer there if it's necessary. Basically, right now, whatever it is that you have to do and whatever your state will allow is what you do. But even now, I know a lot of retailers will look at this and say, I got to put up a tent, I got to put a table out there, I got to do all these things. That's nobody's going to take advantage of that. That's way too. Friends, don't think that way. This, what you see on the screen right now, is real time, and it's actually happening. Like I said, our presentation today, the call was not going to have any or might this is stuff that is actually happening, and that both of us, Tim and I, would strongly recommend that you start doing today and learn it and master it today so that you can keep it going into the future, like I said before, and have another tool in your toolbox.
Right?
Yeah, Timmy, you there? Keep going, buddy.
Yeah, you were breaking up a little bit. I'm sorry. We do have a question, and if you do have questions, please feel free to type them in. The question is, what type of radius or how big of a radius should you be or should you have for pickup and delivery? This obviously depends on where you are. In New Jersey, where Frank is, if it's 50 miles, you're all the way through New York in some cases and down through Pennsylvania. So you need to be careful. I have stores in Kentucky, in the Lexington area that have been uber successful, that have set it at 50 miles, but that is totally up to you. Make sure that when you are setting this up, that is in the verbiage, because that was pain points that we've learned together. In the beginning, that dealership group in Kentucky did not say, hey, it's 50 miles or it's there's a mile, cutoff. You don't want, your people being gone for an hour and a half or 2 hours, obviously picking up a vehicle. So depending on traffic, depending on where you live and how bad traffic is, which it's obviously not bad now based on the circumstances, but make sure that you make that radius depending on, drive time to and from. So keep those questions coming in. We'll continue to answer them, and absolutely great stuff. And by the way, we did not plan this. The cool thing is we have this. They're optionally one of our stores, and we continued. We just put that up there. It just so happened that that it was one of Frank's stores. So kind of cool there. We want to show you again remote test drives, being able to make it easy for your consumers to schedule remote test drives. Now, this particular dealership happens to be a dealership within Georgia, and they chose not to use AI. They have one person that every time someone clicks that button, remember, people are not at the dealership. Most people are not at the dealership. When somebody clicks that button, it goes directly to that person to where they can immediately answer that session. That is huge. I'm going to give you another nugget, and I think I've said this before. My friend Bob Lanham, who heads automotive for Facebook, it's all about what you're doing inside of your store. I said last week, Bob got up in the 20 group and said, let's talk about Facebook Marketplace. One GM stands up and says, Facebook Marketplace sucks. The other GM stands up and says, Tom, you're an idiot. We're closing at 80%. The difference was the person that said Facebook Marketplace sucked was allowing someone else to communicate for him. They were going into a CRM. We provide that service. We're telling you it's better if you're answering those, if you put together a special forces team, especially now. So he had a group, I think it was 3 or 4 if memory serves. Every time a marketplace ad came in, it went directly to their phone, and they ended up closing them at a very, very high level. So again, just something like that. Somebody is just pushing it off, using it as lead gen. Somebody is treating that customer like it's the only customer that's ever going to come in for the rest of the day, which in today's environment, it might be. So please remember as we're going through that.
Hey, Tim, Tim, can I ask you a favor, please, sir? Yeah. Could you go back 2 slides, please, because I need to point something out.
Here?
No, up 1. Yeah. No, forward 1. Forward, if you will, please. The first one that showed CarNow's interface on that Toyota store.
Oh, got it. This one?
This one. Okay, so I want to point out right there. You see the 2 call to action buttons that say schedule test drive and schedule home delivery. The point I want to make, Tim, is you're live on the call with me, so I want to give credit, and I want to make sure that people know something. That those two buttons are on the interface right there. Okay, that isn't something that was come up with today. That Tim suddenly said, "Oh, maybe we should be doing this." Tim, I believe you and I spoke about that on, I think, March 8th.
Yep.
March 8th or 9th. So, so I have to give you credit of the fact that you were so far ahead on this, on figuring out what are the call to actions going to be, what should we change them to on all of our tools. And friends, that brings up a point, retailers, that brings up a huge point. What do your call to actions say? Because if they say the exact same thing that they used to say, they may be relaying the wrong type of information, or it may be the wrong call to action that is going out to your customers, and that may be why they're not responding. If you ask the right question, you usually get an answer. If you ask the wrong question, you will generally get silence back.
Yeah.
So very important to examine your call to actions, and hats off to Tim and the Car Now staff for looking at their own call to actions and saying, you know what, may be a good idea that we change these things.
Yeah. It's true. We saw when we started changing these and adding artificial intelligence around them, we saw a massive, which is why we partnered with Facebook, because we delivered those numbers at the Kane event and at the Brian Pash event, and obviously it caught the attention of Facebook, and here we are. So really, really good stuff. I want to park here just a little bit as we land the plane. Frank, what, in your opinion, I mean, some of this, and I think there's an easy answer here, but what, in your opinion, is going to be, I mean, our world is different now. I mean, everybody uses the word, and I've used it 1,000 times, unprecedented. I mean, really, it's almost like I'm just confessing to you today. I mean, it's like I wake up and we're in a dream, right? Like, this isn't real. Like, we're in some kind of Hollywood set that this really, as I go to, as I woke up at 7 a.m. because I heard Walmart had light. That's what I did. I woke up early this morning, as I always do, and my wife said, "Hey, Walmart has Lysol. Can you go see if you can get it?" So I put on my gloves and I put on my mask so I could be a good citizen. And I walked into Walmart, and guess what? They were out of Lysol. So the world is different now. I would have never done that before. But there are things that, I won't do that after COVID. I'm not going to put gloves on. I'm not going to put a mask on. God's will in 3 or 4 months or whenever, or 2 months, whenever this thing's over. But there are things that are going to resonate in dealerships. And I want to land the plane there and just give you the range for a second. I mean, what, in your opinion, the stuff that we're doing, the stuff that you're seeing, because again, guys, obviously Frank doesn't work for Car Now. Frank has multiple dealerships that he's responsible for, marketing and so on and so forth. So he sees what's working. And guess what? If you're not working, you're fired, because Frank's job is to put vendors and put things in place that work. And if it's not working, they fire Frank, and no one fires Frank. So he knows what he's doing. So what is working now in dealerships? What does the dealership look like 60 to 90 days from now, God's will, when this passes and we're getting some sort of normalcy?
That's a question, Tim, and honestly, I've been working on content for a show coming up, for a Live with Lopes coming up, and if I have the content completed, I'll actually have it tonight. But I will give you I'll give you a sneak preview of what that next 90 days looks like, and I believe very, very strongly that we will have 2 waves of business coming through in the next 90 days. After, I should say, as soon as a stay in place is taken away in your state, because that is going to be really the pivot point of when we're going to be able to make the turn here. From the time that the stay in place is removed in your state, from that point forward, you're going to have 2 waves come through. You're going to have one wave of all the people that are suffering dramatically from cabin fever, and they want to get out of the house, and their money is burning a hole in their pocket so badly that it's burned their skin, and they've got to spend it, and they got to get rid of it. And they've seen all the commercials for 0% for 84 months. They've seen all the commercials for no payments for 90 days. And friends, those commercials will intensify greatly as we get closer to the end of this, what I'm calling this season of challenge. The commercials and the messages will intensify. So you will have one wave of people that are dying to get out of the house and that will come right into the showroom. And then you will have another wave, and the two waves will intersect. They will overlap. Okay. You'll have another wave of people that are going to be on the telephone, and that they are going to be submitting leads, and that they are going to want to take advantage of the easy, convenient, and safe way to purchase a vehicle, which is the at-home program that you have right now. You need, retailers, you need to be able to handle both of those waves. So what you do in the days leading up to when the stay in place is removed and the season changes from the season of challenge to the season of opportunity, you need to be prepared for that season, and you need to be prepared for it now. I would start preparing right now for it. So that's going to be number one. You're going to see these two waves come through, and two different type of buyers, two different types of sets of wants, of needs, and of deal breakers for them that they're going to be looking for. And also your pickup and delivery for service. Your service department is going to suddenly get very busy as well. You're going to have to be able to answer the question that says, I saw on your website and you sent me 93 emails, and I saw on Facebook about 39 times about how you're picking up and delivering cars for service. So my car needs an oil change. When can you come pick it up? You need to be able to answer that question with, oh, we have a pickup appointment available for Tuesday in the morning. Is that convenient for you? If you answer the question with, yeah, well, I should rephrase that. If your service BDC is answering the question, well, yeah, we were doing that during all the stuff with the coronavirus, but now that that's gone, we're not doing that anymore. So when would you like to schedule your appointment? When can you come in? So that is something that you are not going to want to happen, friends. You're not going to want to have that happen. So absolutely, positively, prepare now for how you are going to handle picking up and delivering customers' cars post-COVID during the season of opportunity. So important that you keep that in place, because the amount of negativeness and the amount of, oh, typical car dealer just wanted my money when they could get it type of reactions can hurt you going into the future for many, many months and or years. It's going to be so important that you keep those 2 points going on, Tim. Those are the two previews that I'd like.
Yeah,
now, and friends, now is the time to be thinking of the
1,000%. The encouraging thing, I want to land the plane with encouragement. I listen. We happen to be a trusted provider with JD Power, and I was on a JD Power call, I don't know, 10 or 11 days ago now. But, as you know, if you follow the SAR or, the national index, of how many cars, we were projected this year to do about 16.5 million-ish, thereabouts cars. That new prediction, as we obviously last month, was really bad. It's going to be a tough month again, but I've got to encourage you guys. It's going to get better. They are predicting anywhere from 13.5 million to somewhere between 14.2, 14.3, which means exactly what Frank says. When we come out of this, there's going to be so much pent up, people just wanting to get out. I mean, quite frankly, I enjoyed Walmart today, even though I had a mask and gloves on, just to interact with other people. So it's going to get good, and it's going to get really good, but we've got to prepare now by doing these types of things so we're ready, so people can start telling the stories now. Hey, I went into Zimmerman CDJR and I'm not going to believe it. They ended up picking up my car right at my house, and I wanted to buy a car, and they did this. I went into Germain Toyota of Naples, and it was an amazing experience. And then people start going to church again. People start going to school again, and they said, I can't believe this experience. And guys, that's what we are trying to pour into you right now. Obviously, it's easier said than done. But with these tools, I just want to clarify, some of you asked, and I got a text on my phone, those AI flows, that is a if you are partnered with Car Now and have our Message Now service, our communication chat and text service, we are giving those for anybody that references Timtalks or any of our OEM partners. We're going to let you, it is a product. We can talk about that, but we're going to let you have it for 60 days. We think 60 days will get us through the hump. So we just want to pour into your dealership, love on your dealership, and make sure that you can sustain and create these practices. And then obviously when things get better, we can talk about everything else. It is a separate product, but we're not worried about that right now. If you do want that and you want us to do that, please reach out to your local Car Now rep. Email me at tim@carnow.com. I did not want to make this a salesy deal, but someone did text that in, so I wanted to elaborate. I wanted to elaborate on that. So we'll be happy to do that for you. So as we land this plane, listen, guys, I just want to thank you so much for tuning in. Obviously, we're going to be posting this a couple different places. We're going to get better together. We're going to get through this. Quite frankly, some of you guys on this call, I would love to have on the show, talk about some things that are working. Frank, any final thoughts?
The final thoughts are, friends, right now you can be selling cars unless your state completely has your dealership shut down. You can be doing two things. Number one, you can be selling cars right now. I'm not going to try to make you're going to do the same volume that you did before and all that kind of stuff, because it would be just an outright lie and I would be selling you smoke. But you can definitely be fulfilling the immediate needs of your customers by selling cars right now. And you can all needs so many seeds that are going to grow crops that you can harvest in the upcoming season of opportunity. Do not take the season of opportunity that's coming. Do not think that people are just going to come in. Don't go and think that the manager who was buried in that slide that Tim showed at the beginning of the call, of the headstone that says just get them in. Don't think that there's going to be a miraculous resurrection of that saying after this is all over, because it's just not going to work. People's attitudes are going to be different. There are a lot of studies and a lot of things that are coming out right now talking about what COVID has done to our society socially. Like, are we going to be still shaking hands? Or are people going to be scared to shake hands? Is this going to create a ton more, a whole new generation of germaphobes and things like that? These are a lot of things that we don't know. But being of service to the customer is something that we should have been focused on, should have been highly focused on pre-COVID. Some dealers were, some retailers were all about it. Let's figure out how to make the whole transaction seamless. Let's make sure how to figure out how to do whatever the customer wants. Let's not do your presence is leverage type of thing. The fact that the customer's on the phone, that's your leverage. That's the customer's leverage now. The fact that the customer submitted a lead, that's their leverage. They actually reached out to you. So a new way of thinking, a new way of doing business, being more of service and less of let's just try to get them in and sell who's in front of you. Right now, virtually everybody is in front of you. So embrace that fact, because this is not a theory. This is not a maybe. This is not a you should type of thing. This is a 100% stone cold fact. And anyone who is that their sales department is open right now and they're communicating with customers, whether it be through email or text or on the telephone, they know that the customer is actually there, and they're suddenly, every single opportunity suddenly is so important and so serious. And this guy's looking to buy right now. If not, he wouldn't have called. Well, friends, the reality is that same guy who called you in January, he was ready to buy too. And he bought somewhere. He just didn't buy from you. That's all, because of whichever way it is that you dropped the ball. So, but friends, get ready. The season of opportunity is coming. I can't tell you how far away it is. I can just tell you that in the dash of our life, it's very, very soon. So you should absolutely be prepared for it. Hey, Tim, there's two questions on here. I don't know if you saw them or not. We may want to answer them.
Sure.
Because
sure.
Mackenzie Gray has a question that says, are the two black call to actions on the poke available now? I'll answer that one. Yes, they are available now. If you speak to your Car Now rep, they can handle that for you and get that done. And then Brandon says, how has COVID impacted overall web traffic on dealer websites? Brandon, that one, it all depends on where you are. If you are in a state that was behind, so to say, behind in the timeline of other states that put stay in places in order, your traffic was not down. It wasn't really down all that much. Also, there was a tremendous amount of influence that dealers had with what they did with their marketing. Dealers who cut their marketing immediately in an effort to conserve cash, their website traffic did go down, maybe about 10% more, 10 to 15% more than a dealer who didn't. But one thing that I can say 100% from every dealer that I've looked at so far this week into their analytics, and I've looked at about a dozen or so of them in just these last 2 days, their traffic, any dip in their traffic has stopped. They have reached the bottom of that, and I see their traffic either staying consistent or starting to rise, greatly affected by what it is that they're doing with their marketing. I'm not recommending that dealers go and grab the wheelbarrows of cash out of the safes and start throwing money around like crazy right now, but there definitely are some opportunities to stay consistent, and now is a good time to invest money in producing new content and getting your website updated and getting good tools plugged into your website like Car Now and like a good solid trade tool and a good soft pull credit tool. So many opportunities that dealers should be taking advantage of right now. Hey, Tim, I can't say thank you enough for honoring me by having me on the call today and on the presentation, and everything is absolutely fantastic. I can't thank you enough for this.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you, Frank, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and real world stuff. Guys, tune in next week. We're going to be with Jared Kilway of Germain. We're going to talk about social media. We're going to talk about how to leverage social media. We've been hearing about this so long. I mean, we were talking about Facebook 10 years ago. I was one of the guys, not 10 years ago, 8 years ago. I was one of the guys running a dealership that kind of chuckled a little bit. Listen, what people are doing, what Jared and others are doing with social media, Facebook and Instagram and others is just absolutely unbelievable. And not only is it unbelievable, it's showing fruit in sales and service, and it's less expensive than your traditional media. So now more than ever, it's we need to watch our budgets. We need to make sure that we're seeing what's actually working and converting. And so please tune in next week where we truly unpack how to place good Facebook ads, dynamic ads, that type of thing on Facebook, as we really unpack that during this COVID-19. Listen, we love you guys. Thank you so much. We're so honored and blessed that you're a part of our family. Even if you're not, listen, take this advice if you would. It's working. And listen, as always, let's get better together. We'll see you next time. Have a great day.